Hello everyone and welcome to this analysis of Air Conflict's Secret Wars, a flight simulator set in World War II and developed by Slovak studio Games Farm, which also happens to be the first and hopefully not the last to fully support the PlayStation Move, along with stereoscopic 3D. While not a looker nor a performer compared to similar products on PS3, Air Conflicts does in fact a great job at showing how the genre could benefit from the implementation of the PlayStation Move technology. The main thing it does right is disregarding the point-and-roll solution for a control system that mimics that of an actual flight stick. You simply hold the Move upright and tilt it to bank, climb or dive just like you would with a dedicated accessory. Cleverly, you don't have to hold the Move perfectly vertically to go straight, but slightly bended forward by about 10 or 15 degrees. This way it's easier for the thumb to operate the move face buttons, as well as more relaxing for the wrist to hold the controller into position. What's more interesting about this control system is how Rudder Control was implemented. Normally, when using a traditional controller, those minor yaw direction adjustments the rudder allows to perform are executed by pressing the shoulder buttons, which is also the case in this game. When using the Move though, you simply do this. Thanks to the sphere position tracking, you simply move the controller to the left or to the right to rotate the plane around its vertical axis. The farther you push it away from the center position, the faster the rotation in the corresponding direction. To a lesser degree, similar motions on a vertical axis allow for small altitude variations as well. This implementation has tremendous consequences on the usability of such a subtle control in combination with the other ones, resulting in an overall much smoother flying experience. There is a catch though. If you sit in a position that is not in the middle of the PSI field of view, the plane rotates as it would if you moved the controller to that position. This could have been addressed by letting the player reset the sphere starting position via recalibration, but sadly the calibration process is too simplistic. All it seems to do is white balancing on the sphere under the assumption the player is sitting where it should. While not deal-breaking, this is an oversight you might want to keep in mind when other people join you on the sofa. Be sure you don't get pushed out of the cockpit. Besides this minor annoyance, another benefit of the Move implementation is that of pure feeling. More so than with the Dualshock 3, you can easily tell the difference in agility between the various plane models on offer, a Stuka's fighter bomber feeling heavier than a light Lavochkin 5, which then again feels like a little bird compared to the gigantic Heinkel 111 bomber. On the point of agility, it's worth mentioning that the sensitivity settings you see here seem to affect the move controls to a lesser degree than the Dualshock 3 ones. Actually, I have yet to put my finger on what exactly they are supposed to do, as I can barely notice a difference between maximum and minimum. What I can tell for sure is that the angle at which you need to tilt a move to trigger a reaction isn't affected, and that the response time against the Dualshock 3 implementation is about the same. As for the rudder sensitivity, there is no specific options for that on neither control schemes, which is fine when using the Dualshock 3, but less so when using the Move, as the default sensitivity forces to move the controller around a little bit too much. It does seem to take sphere size into account though, perhaps using it as a reference point to keep the distance between full left and full right positions consistent whatever your distance from the camera. While there is a slight sense of slugginess in the way the planes react to move inputs compared to the Dualshock 3 ones, I believe that's by design. In fact, switching to the arcade-style controls the game provides, the response times increase tremendously. Notice here how the arcade plane on the left changes banking direction faster than the simulation one on the right, despite me tilting the Move later. Moving on, let's talk about buttons. The square and X ones control the throttle and have probably been chosen for the job because of how easy it is to press either of them by simply bending the thumb, as you can see in the picture-in-picture. It is indeed easy and effective, allowing to execute accelerations and decelerations with ease, as you see me doing in these situations. this last one not being the smartest maneuver ever. As you would expect, the move trigger fires the machine guns, which obviously feels much better than pressing X as it is the case with the Dualshock 3 controls. Sadly though, there is no rumble feedback whatsoever. As for the targeting system, before discussing that I need to explain some of the red stuff you see around the enemy planes. These dots identify them as enemies, of course, while this red Nazi cross represents the point along their trajectory you need to shoot at in order to score a hit. Okay, now there are various difficulty settings in air conflicts, all of them except the highest one coming with an aim assist that locks the reticle on the closest red Nazi cross when within a given range. While it might sound as too much of an aid, bear in mind machine guns are your primary weapon here, not a secondary one like in the guided missiles fest that is your average flight simulator set in the present days. So you won't probably mind the assist and will likely enjoy the chasing more. It is important to note though that this assist has nothing to do with the move implementation. Actually, it exists because of the Dualshock 3 controls. As you can tell looking at the following takedowns scored at the highest assist-free difficulty, it's the Dualshock 3 controls those asking for an assist rather than the move ones. Pay close attention to how the reticle behaves around the targets and how jumpy it is when playing with the Dualshock 3 compared to the move. And believe me, I'm doing my best with both controllers here. Another aid to aiming that's clearly meant to make life easier to those that need it is the adrenaline system, which allows to slow down the action for as long as you hold down triangle, this auto-recharging bar here representing how much adrenaline you have got. And it's funny. What's actually useful for fine-tuning the aim with the Dualshock 3, especially on Ace difficulty, when using the move feels almost completely redundant. A cool effect to trigger from time to time though. Finally, the circle button allows to switch between bombs and rockets, which can then be dropped and fired with the main move button. Besides the ground reticle helping with dropping the former on the intended target and the latter being a bitch to master, there is nothing meaningful to report here as far as move controls go. Up until now I have discussed how the move controls work, but how about the navigation controller? Interestingly, the developers packed so much functionalities on the move itself, you can easily ignore its companion. Its main functions are in fact camera related, as it allows to turn the viewpoint around and switch between different camera views using the analog stick. Actually, the navigation controller does allow for something unique, which is turning on the tail gunner mode by pressing down on the D-pad. In this mode you still control the plane with the move, but also the rear gunner reticle with the stick. It's not terribly effective, nor is it easy to keep flying straight while clearing your back in the process, but you might find the prospect of leveraging this feature for some co-op action intriguing. In fact, since you can fire the rear gunner with the L2 as well as with the main move trigger, you can lend the navigation controller to a friend and let him be the rear gunner while you focus on the flight. Moving away from the controls and briefly into the actual game content, I have to say that despite its low production values and somewhat unpolished execution, Air Conflicts provides a rather engaging mix of traditional and untraditional mission types, some revolving around your average dogfighting and bombardment situations, other tasking with searching for ground targets with naked eyes. These ones feel very World War II indeed.
I see the first junction point.
Shoot it! Be quick, Didi!
Or with reaching a given destination without being spotted by patrolling enemy planes, their field of view indicated on the radar below.
Hier spricht die deutsche Luftwaffe. Identifizieren Sie sich.
Yeah, that didn't sound good.
Letzte Warnung. Identifizieren Sie sich.
Yeah, not good at all. A few missions are also set during the First World War conflict as some sort of playable flashbacks playing out in muted colors while comrades of the protagonist share some insights on her father's past.
We didn't like the killing, but it's them or you, and those guns sprayed all over.
There is also a light RPG element in the game which allows to improve different attributes, one of them being the chance of scoring a critical hit. Neat idea, albeit not really expanded beyond that. Oh, and there is also online multiplayer, of course. But besides all that, the most alluring aspect of Air Conflicts remains its clever implementation of move controls, which is not perfect but clearly shows a lot of potential. Your turn, Namco. Ciao!